Welcome to the Wealth Transfer with TC. Today I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin, the Bitcoin halving, and following up on the last video that I did on that and giving you guys some additional information that is very exciting and very encouraging what we're getting ready to experience. And are we going to see two crypto bull runs within the next 12 months? Then I'm also going to talk about these spot ETFs, not just for Bitcoin, but also for Ethereum. And I'm getting ready to share some information, some what people are saying, what's exactly going to happen when these Bitcoin ETFs are approved. And this is why I say you guys want to keep stacking until things begin to change. So are we going to see coins like Shiba or Luna or some of these other coins, hit a penny in this first major bull run? Now, before I get anything else, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing information, giving you my thoughts and my opinions on that information. Now, Bitcoin is currently at 27,568. And if you guys remember, back in November, during the FTX fallout, Bitcoin reached 15,599. Right? So if you bought a Bitcoin back in November, you currently have made over $10,000. Now, I want people to be prepared because I believe that there are two Bitcoin bull runs coming, and I believe that this is part of the two waves, or we could look at the two waves in a different light. Now, to kind of go back over what I shared with you in the previous video, that we were 188 days away from the next Bitcoin halving. And as the charts show, there's always going to be a Bitcoin bull run at some point after the halving. And one of the things is that I believe that God doesn't want the people that are involved in the wealth transfer, those people who want change in their lives, those people who want to do ministry, that God doesn't want you to miss out on these next several bull runs. And the number one reason why you stack, because if some of these coins do go up in that first major bull run, people need to have enough to be able to sell without compromising the entire portfolio. So for us, in some cryptos, we've been stacking for 3 years. Some people for 2 years. Some people for just a year. And some people just a few months. And with the whole thing with the XRP case, and it seems like the SEC is not really getting anywhere. Now, they can still go after other cryptos. They can still go after exchanges. But the fact remains that the SEC has been losing. Right now, of course, this case is going to be dragged out until April of next year, which is the same month that the Bitcoin halving is supposed to occur. So the other thing that I'm going to bring up is the spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. And I'm going to share some information that is very exciting in what we should expect over the next 12 months. All right, so the first thing is that, as I shared, we're 188 days away from the next Bitcoin halving. And Bitcoin is going to continue to rise up until the halving, right? The halving itself might be buy the rumor, sell the news. And then once people realize, wait a minute, Bitcoin is going to be much rarer, then you're going to start to see it go on its, I believe, the second bull run after the halving. I think we're going to get another bull run before then. I could be wrong, but Bitcoin is going to be slowly going up anyway before the halving. And so when I was thinking about the two waves, we assumed that when we first heard about the two waves through Maria Conwell that it was going to happen that year, right? And I was wrong on that. And it wasn't anything that anybody prophesied as far as dates or anything like that. But going back and looking at the waves was when Bitcoin was at 69,000 and it came all the way down to 16,000. Now the wave is starting to slowly build back up, and I believe that's going to happen before the halving. And I'll get into that here in just a minute. Then the next wave will come after the halving. Or is it this? Right? So we're on the fourth Bitcoin halving. So what if this whole 500 days before the Bitcoin halving is one wave, and then in the next 4 years is the second wave? So I'm looking at from several different perspectives, and we won't really know until actually things happen. So we're going to hear from several different people, and one of those people is Adam Black. He is the co-founder and CEO of Blockstream. Right? He's actually one of the original people that was involved with Satoshi, and he developed Hashcash, which is part of Bitcoin mining. Some people think that he's actually Satoshi, But he said some things that are very interesting. So he is referenced in the Bitcoin white paper. So I'm getting ready to play this video, and this is about the Bitcoin supply shock, right? And you're going to see it. And this is all dealing with supply and demand. And I think that's one of the reasons why that when I believe I received prophetic instructions on what we should be doing with Bitcoin, it makes perfect sense. We actually should have been doing it, not since April when I posted that, but also when Bitcoin hit its bottom at 15,600. That's when we should have started investing in Bitcoin, right? And taking out some of the supply out of the daily volume. There's a lot of bots that are trading Bitcoin. So imagine the more that we take out, the less that it can be traded. And I know it can be done because I see these people who come out with their own coins, or they prophesy these coins and it goes up 60,000% and everybody's dumping their money in, right? But the thing about it is, if we're all waiting for Bitcoin to move, right, shouldn't we be buying it up? That doesn't make any sense. We should be taking out some of the supply. So this video that I'm getting ready to share from Altcoin Daily, I'm just going to share a few clips from the information that he was sharing about this.
Work is cited in the Bitcoin white paper. And just know before we watch this clip in full that the two things that affect price of any asset is supply and demand. And while the Bitcoin halving next year will be a huge shock on supply, Pompliano went on Fox Business this morning to remind the viewers of the race for the Bitcoin spot ETF in the US, which has huge implications on the demand side.
Is a spot Bitcoin ETF going to happen this year? I mean, there's a Hunger Games going on with a whole bunch of different fund companies. In a letter sent to the SEC yesterday, Grayscale urged the regulatory body to reconsider its application to turn its Bitcoin trust into a spot ETF.
Grayscale is trying to be first. They're trying to beat Fidelity, beat BlackRock. This is all SEC dependent if a Bitcoin ETF in America gets approved.
Now what the SEC has to decide is, are they going to allow this conversion? But that's not the only part that they actually have to evaluate. They also have to look at the fact that you have other ETF applications that are out there. And so it's kind of this great race. Do we get the GBTC conversion first, or do we get ETF applications? I tend to think that we don't want to have a financial market where regulators are playing referee in the sense of they get to choose winners and losers. Instead, what we want is we want regulators to create fair markets. And so from my personal perspective, the best thing to do would be just approve them all at once. Say, GBTC, you can convert BlackRock, ARK, the other filers.
VanEck.
Everyone gets to go. 1, 2, 3, go. Whoever gets the assets gets the assets. Because part of what we've seen in prior ETF applications that have been approved, whoever gets out there first, they get the assets.
Yeah, Fidelity. I mean, what is more basic and accepted in the world than Fidelity? They're applying.
Now the final deadline for most of these ETFs, the SEC could push until March of next year, but many experts, including Pomp, do think it's coming sooner.
I do believe we will get ETF applications approved before the end of this year. We got about 100 days or so left to go. BlackRock knocking at the door, Fidelity, et cetera, I think really helps. But another key piece to this, and I think people kind of are so focused on the ETF application that they're not looking at the macro impact. And one of the things that recently came out is Bernstein came out with this brand new kind of prediction that this stablecoin market, these are just dollars on blockchain, is going to be about a $3 trillion market cap. Now, the reason why that's important is it's $125 billion today. So they're predicting just dollars alone will go from $125 billion to $3 trillion. If that happens, Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market will likely be $10+ trillion. We're talking about a market that maybe is just over $1 trillion today. So these are huge upside numbers.
So these are what some of the financial experts are saying out there. Whether they approve them one at a time, which I don't, which doesn't really make any sense, right? Maybe approve them all at once, but however they do it, one at a time, maybe one every day, or it's going to create a Bitcoin shortage because of all these spot ETFs. It's not just the Bitcoin ETF race, right? So here's some articles here. Franklin Templeton joins spot Bitcoin ETF race. Coinbase is the real winner in the Bitcoin ETF race. NASDAQ readies itself to list a spot Bitcoin ETF, right? These are all recent articles. Now, this is the other thing. A race for spot Ether ETF begins with a bid from ARK Invest and 21 shares. Now, isn't that Kathy Woods? Galaxy and Invesco joined growing Ethereum ETF race. So with some of these major cryptos, they're creating these spot ETFs. This is going to be huge. This is going to be massive. And whether it gets approved one at a time or they go all at once between now and March, well, April is the halving. So we're going to see this anticipation starting to build. You're going to see Bitcoin continue to rise during this time period. Now, there might be some other things like the SEC going after other exchanges or whatever the case, but it looks like the SEC is really losing, and I think they know it, and it's just a matter of time before they're going to have to completely, give up on what they're trying to do. When it comes to a lot of this, really, it's just up to the House and the Senate to pass a bill to regulate crypto. So he said it could be $10 trillion, folks. It could go from $1 trillion to $10 trillion. So let's go ahead and listen to what he was saying about Adam Back and what his prediction was. This is the guy who was involved in the original Bitcoin white paper.
What does one of the founding fathers of cryptography think about the effects of the halving in general?
There's a halving event to come, probably in the spring of next year. What impact will that have?
Well, I mean, it's something that there's some debate about whether it's priced in the market. Some people will say, oh, it's priced in, but I think because of the generally high volatility, other than the last month, it's quite hard to price in. And it also punctuates the 4-year halving cycle, or the economic cycle of Bitcoin. And historically, Bitcoin's done well. Within 6 or 9 months after the halving, there's been a sort of price appreciation part of the cycle. Now, this time,
so what do you think is possible?
Well, I think it's possible that we get to, a new all-time high, like 100,000 or more, even before the halving, simply for the reason that the last few years have been kind of a depressed market in general and in the crypto market through, a number of bankruptcies and DeFi failures, things like that.
So this guy who's originally involved with the Bitcoin white paper and having conversations with Satoshi believes that we should see 100,000 before the Bitcoin halving event. And he said that Bitcoin will do really well between 6 to 9 months after the halving. So that's why I say within a year, we could have this first major bull run when we have all these spot ETFs approved, right, in anticipation of the Bitcoin halving. And then when the Bitcoin halving comes, right, buy the rumor, sell the news, then people sell off, Bitcoin goes back down, and then within a 6-month period, Bitcoin could go on this next bull run. So that's why I say within the next 12 months, we could have some major bull runs. And I don't want anybody to miss out on this. And this is why I say you just keep stacking, regardless of what is going to happen. According to history, Bitcoin is going to continue to rise, right? And according to the charts, eventually it's going to hit over 100,000. And this is one of the dangers too as well. And with the spot ETFs, and this could be a major spike, let's say the SEC does approve all of these all at once, right? Then there's a big massive grab for Bitcoin, the markets shoot up, and maybe even several weeks or even months later, the price of Bitcoin crashes on the buy the rumor, sell the news events. So you have to be careful in making sure that you're taking profit when this occurs. And so you have to prepare for all these different scenarios. And the one scenario that I want people to understand is that the crypto markets always go through crypto winners. And so you have to think about whenever the Bitcoin halving bull run is over with, right, we're going to go into another crypto winter. And that might be like 2 years from now. Who knows how low it'll get. What's going to end up happening is that there's going to be a whole bunch of money being poured out. If it's going to go from 1 trillion to 10 trillion, that just means that there's going to be trillions being poured into the markets. And you're going to see more people getting into crypto. And that's why I share with you guys, when you talk to people about cryptocurrency, make it about the charts. Make it about what history shows, right? And you don't want to miss out on the next bull run. So just keep stacking. Try to make Bitcoin as part of your portfolio, because it doesn't make any sense to say, oh, how come Bitcoin isn't going up? We're waiting for BlackRock and all these people to buy up all the Bitcoin. You should be buying it up. The people in the wealth transfer should be buying it up. The people in the crypto community should be buying it up. Let's try to take as much Bitcoin out of circulation as possible. So I'm pretty excited about this. You should be excited about this. So I thank you guys for listening. God bless. TC out.